morning, Saints Nation. How often do I get to say that? Welcome. This is going to be a day full of League of Legends action where we're just going to have matches pretty much all day. Drury Esports Invitational Tournament just about to get underway. My name is Dan Banner, one of your hosts here for tonight, or today rather, not tonight for once. And joining me, Shadi Hano. Welcome back. How you doing?
Doing great. I'm really excited for a day's worth of League of Legends gameplay. I'm really excited to see how our Saints perform in the Drury Esports Invitational Tournament. And I'm really excited for our first match against Purdue.
And started things off, of course, Purdue Fort Wayne Esports for St. Clair College as a part of this group stage. The idea for this tournament is going to be we play everybody in our group once, so it's going to be round robin style. And I believe it's the top two teams move forward to, or no, maybe the top three teams. I think it's the top three teams move forward into a bracket after the fact. If I am incorrect, I'll definitely fix that up later on. But of the 7 teams that both groups have, we're basically going to be cutting that in half and having a bracket stage later, or on Sunday rather.
No, awesome. Go ahead. It's going to be really exciting to see how the matches kind of unfold and where teams end up. I know we've got a long day ahead of us. I think it's 6 games we're playing today with 1 bye at the very end of the day. So we get a non-stop stream of League of Legends actions for you today here on the Saints Gaming channel.
But we like to see definitely try and not drop after the end of the day with so many matches coming up back to back. But we're about to get started with the draft very shortly. But before we get into that, let's take a look and see who we even have on the team to begin with. Our starting lineup for St. Clair.
In the top lane, it's Andre Frez Seguin, a sophomore esports administration and entrepreneurship student here at St. Clair, as are a number of our players actually, followed by Justin A.M. Trick McGregor in the jungle, Owen Yule Baines in the mid lane, Zachary Mansfu Dylan, our 4th esports admin student here in the support role, and Loy Lazi Rollin, a protection security and investigation student here at St. Clair in the AD carry role. This is our team, obviously coached by Yuri Blazin Custodio. These guys have had a really strong season so far. Some good wins and some tough losses, but lots of learning moments. And I'm sure everything that they've played up to until now is going to culminate in this tournament. And I'm really excited to see how they perform together as a squad in today's Invitational.
Absolutely. We've seen them so far in a couple of OPSE matches, the preseason and the league matches. As like you mentioned, mixed results, some high highs, some low lows, but we'll have to see what happens in this tournament. As without further ado, it looks like they're already starting the pro draft, so we're gonna hop on in, see what is gonna get banned off the table. We see Camille, that's targeted at Frez more than likely, and Lilia, that's a trick ban.
Yeah, and the Camille and Lilia are both really strong bans, not just as target bans, but also just in the meta in general. Typically, Camille is picked up as a very dominant top laner that she really does. She's a jack of all trades. She does everything well. She's a good split pusher. She's a good duelist. She's a good diver. She's a good initiator. She has great single target focus, so she works with a lot of pick comps, but she also makes a lot of space with her ability to clear through towers and waves very quickly. Lilia, also a very popular jungle pick, one of the fastest clear times in the game. Really good long range initiation with the E into the max sleep on the ultimate. And then Set, just a really strong flex pick as well. So pretty standard bans coming out from both teams. There is a ban not displaying currently for St. Clair's second ban, but looking at the Galio and the Samira, we can see those are also very popular kind of divey champions. So both these teams taking out a lot of divers, and Purdue actually takes the Shen away from Frez. We've seen the Shen picked up as a flex pick for both Trick and Frez previously in St. Clair games. So rather than banning it away, Purdue decides they're going to take it for themselves and give themselves a little bit more global presence in this game.
And definitely a wise play. I would assume it's going to force, I was going to say the Ornn, but they're hovering over the Mordekaiser. That'd be quite surprising. And that blanked out ban there, according to Coach Blazin, is it's a Hecarim ban. So no pony today for this side or for any of these teams. And opting not to go with a top lane pick. Lucian, first pick for St. Clair.
He's a really good flex pick in recent times. He's a very strong counter to a lot of these popular mages we typically see in competitive play, like Syndra and Orianna, that usually abuse like their assassin counterparts early on, whereas Lucian doesn't really have that weakness. He's not only good against them in level 1 because of the range on range matchup, but he's also good because he has the ability to dive on them and dump tons of burst damage, which is exactly what those champions fear most. So Lucian's a really strong first pick in this game. The Mordekaiser would have been a good counter to Shen as well, but opting to hold off onto that top pick for now, choosing instead to go for the Elise, which is immediately responded with the Zac jungle. Elise has really fast clear times, really good single target ganks, but Zac is just so tanky and so good at initiating these long range fights that after that like slow kind of, or that rather that aggressive jungle pick and the Elise comes out, the Zac kind of comes out as a response and says, you know, if you're going to go for a pick, well, I'm going to be there, jumping over 6 different walls to come get you. So it's a pretty interesting response from Purdue. I like the angle they're taking with the Zac. And then the Morgana comes out as a logical counter pick, of course, with the spell shield to that Elise cocoon. And here's our Mordekaiser, as we were talking about. There he is.
So say they did kind of reveal their hand a little bit by hovering it, so they at least take it off the board, or not take it off the board, but they just pick it up now. They're not going to be surprising anybody with it, so fair enough. Bring the Mord out as we go back to the next bands. I'm personally happy to see Elise and Zac getting some play here. We haven't seen it really all season so far. I'm looking forward to seeing what Trick can do on this Elise, but who doesn't love our little flubber fellow just launching himself over many, many walls?
Yeah. They're both.
Oh, sorry,
yeah, they're both kind of less popular picks in recent times because they don't have necessarily particularly great objective control. Like they don't kill dragons very well. They don't kill Rick Herald very well compared to other meta junglers like Braves, like Lilia. So you don't see them as often, but they both provide a lot of value to comps based around making picks or looking for these good initiations. Elise is a fantastic initiator with the cocoon, and Zac obviously with the slingshot, as we mentioned before. But these bans make a lot of sense as well. Both teams are really kind of sticking to this hard, like, ban the gank comp style idea. Like, there goes the Pantheon, there goes the Senna. Again, another ban not currently displaying for St. Clair's, just pro draft doing pro draft things. But a lot of these picks that are being banned out are very, like, single target pick off focused. So St. Clair actually, I think in this situation, have the advantage in the fact that almost all 10 of these bans are, like, divey slash, like, pick-off style champions. And they've managed to pick themselves up the Mordekaiser and the Elise, which are two really good champions at isolating targets, right?
Mordekaiser, you pick the Ashe here now, I would assume you're St. Clair.
It could be the Ashe. Yeah, I think the Lucian is still a valuable flex pick. And since they have the blind pick here, they might go for the support instead. But they actually go for Kayn, meaning that this Elise is a flex pick as well. Now that's interesting.
I am being told that some of the morning woes here is destroying St. Clair. That Kayn is not meant to be. That is supposed to be an Ashe.
Was the Ashe okay? That's going to be rough actually for Purdue. I hope that information gets communicated on time. Otherwise, they're going to go into this game blind. We might have to have ourselves a remake here.
Oh no, they're blasting the lobby. They know.
Okay, very good. The Ashe, really, as you mentioned, is a really good kind of follow-up pick-off champion. And it's surprising to me that they picked it up earlier on in the at this stage in the draft when they do have last pick, just because it's good to keep the Lucian open as a flex pick. But the Ashe is such a high priority pick, and the support had already been taken for Purdue. I guess that's kind of the logic there behind picking up the Ashe early. But Twisted Fate actually ends up coming out for Purdue as the last pick. Usually we see Twisted Fate as like a priority number 1 pick at Worlds. Really strong champion right now with the ability to navigate across the map and get that single target pick off focus, as I mentioned earlier, which is what you're kind of seeing from the St. Clair draft as well. It's a very popular style of play in today's metagame. So that TF is definitely going to represent a lot of utility for this Purdue lineup, especially when combined with the Shen Ultimate. And then St. Clair following up with the Braum for the additional stun. The Braum Lucian is a really good combo. So both these drafts kind of presenting a number of interesting ways and approaches to leading off a team fight. I'm curious to see how these fights actually play out over the course of the game.
I mean, the pick potential coming out here from Purdue is insane. Imagine, because we didn't mention the Twitch coming out on the side of Purdue, which is extremely rare nowadays, I would say, from what I've seen in collegiate anyway. But a sneaky invisible rat with all of a sudden a Twisted Fate following up with Destiny. that's an easy time for a pick. And then you got
Absolutely.
Morgana, you got Zach, Shen. There is tons and tons of engage and pick potential from this Purdue squad. St. Clair has a little bit of their own. However, it'll be interesting to see how this turns out. Should be a brawly time.
For sure. There's going to be a lot of fights in the bot lane. I'm assuming, obviously, that the Lucian will be going mid, even though the combination with the Braum is there. I don't think they want to send an Ashe mid. It's a pretty weak mid lane pick. So with the Lucian Braum towards the mid game, once these mid game fights start breaking out, St. Clair is definitely going to have a lot of options to them as to how they want to approach and engage these fights. But in the bot lane 2v2, that Morgana really makes Braum's life kind of difficult. And when combined with something so aggressive and kill thirsty like the Twitch, I expect to see a significant amount of jungle pressure coming out from the Zac on the bottom side of the map. And we haven't had a chance to talk about it yet because unfortunately, it is collegiate League of Legends. We're not necessarily privy to the exact information of who is going to be on what team and who is playing what role until the very moment it happens. But now that we do, let's introduce our Purdue lineup. We have Manio in the top lane with Haydu in the jungle, Pepsi Fire in the mid lane, W City on ADC, and Sprite Zero in support. Really interested to see how these players perform in this game one. Obviously, not being familiar with them myself. I'm looking forward to seeing how our St. Clair squad matches up and fares against them here.
And if we have Pepsi and Sprite on the same team, eh? All right. Now I'm thirsty.
Yeah,
Why they do this? Purdue, come on now.
definitely some tension there. Probably not going to have any mid lane ganks coming down to the bottom side. But of course, obviously, that Twisted Fate having the ability to get around the map and provide that pressure to all lanes is really going to come in handy for this team, as you mentioned, with that pick style comp that they definitely drafted for here. The Zac, though, after kind of picking up some of these like squishier single target focuses, the Zac seems like a really interesting choice now in retrospect. There's not a whole lot of follow up aside from a Twitch flank, which I don't think you really want to be doing into a Mordekaiser. You just put yourself in alt range. So it's going to be interesting to see how W City pilots this Twitch in this game. But it's pretty much all riding on him here for team damage. So we'll have to see how that bot lane really plays out for sure.
It'll definitely be interesting to see, because how many times have we seen in our own personal games a Twitch pop up out of nowhere? Oh, I've got the perfect angle for ulti. Yeah, you're all by yourself. Boom, blown up instantly. A very, very squishy AD carry to try and pull off here. Could be high risk, high reward. They throw it to us for the moment. Looking at this squad, like, I'm just happy to see some different compositions compared to what we've seen in the past couple of matches, even if it's just like mainly the jungler matchup or even the bot lane matchup. It's good to see. I mean, we've seen a lot of Senna and whatnot, but it was weird to, I guess, at the very end there, they just all really made the bot lane's life very difficult. The AD carries, at least I think 3 or 4 AD carries got banned at the very end. No, 3 AD carries and then Mansfer's Pantheon. So it really threw St. Clair's bot lane for a loop. And if we looked at past matches from St. Clair, a lot of it was on Lazzie's shoulders. I remember the Callista match that we saw versus University of Toronto. I believe that was on Wednesday. Everybody else from St. Clair was getting beat up, but Lassie was still sitting there with like 9, 10 kills, I think, by the end of it. Like, it was all on his shoulders, and if they're going to try and force that bot lanes get messed up, that was a good idea, but they left the Ashe open, which is still a pretty staple pick in that bot lane, so we'll have to see how that turns out.
I think with St. Clair's draft, their approach to drafting is they know that Lassie is like their powerhouse carry, and they're trying to do whatever they can to give him the best lane possible by holding off on that pick until the last moment. Unfortunately, Purdue kind of mirrored their approach to drafting and went for the solo lanes at the beginning as well. So I wonder if maybe picking up an AD carry early and securing like a really high priority pick if they wanted to go for something like the Caitlyn, like the Ezreal in this game. That being said, Ashe, as you mentioned, is very prominent, strong pick, does very well in pick style comps. So I don't really see an issue with the Ashe pickup. The Braum follow up is a little tricky to manage, obviously with the Lucian as being very strong. So there are definitely some kind of gaps thematically from what St. Clair is trying to do with their comp, but overall, it's a pick comp, right? You want the Mordecai's pushing off, holding on to the Shen. If Shen tries to ult, you just ult him away or E him out of it. Like, do whatever you can to keep that Shen in that side lane and force those 4v4s. But it may be tricky to pull those off if that Zac gets a lead, enough of a lead early. So it's really going to come down to how these lanes use their lane priority to give Trick the ability to invade on the Zac and push him back in this area, take some power away from him.
Definitely makes sense here. Now, before, of course, we do get into game number 1, we want to give a shout out to the sponsors, of course, that do make this all possible. Of course, St. Clair College, the St. Clair College Alumni Association, Student Representative Council, EC Outlet, Selkman School of Business and IT, and Tim Hortons. Thank you. I'm probably going to be relying especially on that Tim Hortons coffee for today, because we're in for the long haul here on the Saints Gaming CA stream, as we're getting ourselves a minimum of 6 matches. And like I was saying before, we're basically, it looks like we're basically cutting this group in half. So 7 teams, 1 bye at the end of this for St. Clair. And if they manage to make it on to the next stage, they'll be playing tomorrow, starting, I believe, at 1. It should be interesting to see a lot of these teams from NACE games, actually, from NACE schools. And they haven't had their season actually start yet. So for, like, say for Purdue Fort Wayne Esports, I've never seen their League of Legends team yet. So this is all brand new to me, so it will be sweet to see.
I did have a chance to take a quick look at some of the players' profiles before the games.
Okay.
And looking at the way, kind of like the solo queue rank differential. Obviously, rank is not the most important thing at all in the competitive setting, but we do, on the St. Clair side, we're running a nearly like Masters lineup. It's mostly like high diamond players versus a team that's mostly made up of platinums on the side of Purdue. So there is a level of individual skill difference in those lanes that we may see as being a factor in how this game plays out. That being said, most of the champions in these lanes are not necessarily like mechanically reliant. Like aside from Lucian, Mordekaiser and Ashe are pretty linear in the way that they approach the lane. So a lot of the skill is going to come down to macro choices, how they manage their waves, how they set up for objectives, their positioning in team fights. But these things may not necessarily be as big of a factor in the straight up 1v1s or 2v2s. So again, it's the rank. When you're on the Rift here in the competitive setting, rank doesn't matter. That being said, St. Clair's probably feeling pretty hopeful about how this game is going just before it even gets started.
As we get into game number 1, finally underway. Hello, W City. Just going to put some quick pressure onto Fuel, take him down a quarter HP before any minions arrive. Lassie going to try and answer with a little bit of extra damage himself, so a little bit of a tit for tat here in the mid lane. But no invades. Going to be a rather quiet start, it looks like, after that little kerfuffle. And going to start red side for the side of Purdue Fort Wayne, and St. Clair are going to be at that blue buff, as we see Trick getting some help from his bot lane on that too.
It's important to note that in this matchup with the Twisted Fate Morgana Twitch is such a strong level 1 invade, but against the Lucian Braum, right? And when it is an invade, the Lucian is actually a factor with the Braum if there is a 4-man stack on that bottom side. With the ability to Lucian Braum set up those stuns, St. Clair offers just as much kill potential kind of in return here. And we can actually see, once that Morgana Q comes down, it actually opens up the bot lane, and Yensfo going in with the amazing punish there. As soon as that Morgana Q comes down, he walks up for the auto attack to get that stun lock, which is exactly how you have to play that lane, right? Oftentimes, Morgana's in lane, she's actually stronger when you don't press Q, because it scares people away from being able to engage or fight her. But once that Q comes down, if it misses, that leaves a huge opening for the enemy team to punish that. And St. Clair pull off that punish exceptionally well, burning both of W City's summoners in that level 1 trade and forcing him off the wave.
Yeah, whiffing that Q is basically pushing the go button for the other team for them. And as we saw, like you were mentioning, W City going through so many resources already. Of course, Twitch's early game is extremely lackluster from what I remember. And we do see the engage Pepsi Fire going forward, or trying to defend actually against Yule, but that is going to be the Zac coming in. Haidu really slowing up Yule. He's on the chase. Actually, Trick is nearby. The flash is not going to hit its mark, but I think that was a cocoon over the wall from Trick to stall that out, and it's going to maybe let them get out of here safely. We'll have to see if Manel can stop this. It's actually going to be first blood going over to Trick. They're going to keep pushing this forward. Stun coming out, but it's going to be on to the Mordekaiser of Frez. And Yule's really still trying to push this forward. One more shot away, possibly, but it's under a turret. Not going to challenge that one.
I really like Trick's pathing in this game. He knows how his champion can clear through the jungle camps like an absolute menace, and uses that to put so much pressure on Teheidu's jungling. He starts off with the blue buff. He transitions into the Grom and goes top here. We've got a little bit of a skirmish coming down on the bot side. It's just going to be a couple of resources traded back and forth, but with Twitch having no summoners available, that's going to be a quick stun and turnaround for Lazi. He does get ignited and poisoned, and he does drop here, but Morgana having to flash away from Yesfo. Yesfo looking like he's going to continue with the trade here, the chase. But there's actually a gank in the middle lane now. The cleanse comes out immediately from Yule, but the flash away from Pepsi Fire means nothing's happening today in the middle lane. But Trick really putting a lot of pressure on this map, especially this top or middle side.
Absolutely all over the place. And down on that bot side, Clutch on the side of W City and Spirit Zero to just stack up the poison and have that ignite running. So they're able to at least trade this out one for one. However, that elimination gold going over to Lassie on the 80 carry compared to Sprite Zero on the support Morgana. So slight advantage towards the bot side of St. Clair, but still not too bad. As, okay, Trick just has ultimate cojones here, really waiting and taking a ton of damage while Yule trying to get into position, but he has no mana. This might be a bit of an overextension. He does not dodge the cards. Pepsi Fire going to get the kill there. A slight overextension from St. Clair, and Purdue's going to make them pay for it.
Yeah, St. Clair really had the advantage and the lead here in the early game. Their lanes were strong, like even though they had, in some cases, relatively tricky lanes in the bottom side at least. They managed to get leads in all three lanes, but some of these fights that are being called are just a little out of reach. That initiation from Trick was just looked a little proactive. Maybe could have waited for Yule to get a little bit more set up before he went in for that trade. But down again in the bottom side, there's another stun set up. The Ignite actually does come up from Yanspo just to secure that vision onto the Twitch. The Twitch obviously being able to go invisible. Ignite keeping tabs on him and his location at all times. And the spell shield from Morgana is just going to allow them to walk out of that trade, no problem.
I assume the spell shield, even if the stun procced with the spell shield on, yeah, they would just completely ignore it, I would assume, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So that's why you actually, if you look, there was actually the Braum 3 stacks set up on the Twitch. Ozzy was in range to finish the proc, but he was actually looking to hold it until the spell shield ran out. But unfortunately, at that point, Twitch just managed to use that extra movement speed from the queue and just walk out away, which is why that trade didn't go super great for St. Clair. But they did manage to get control over the wave here, and with the wave pushed in for Dragon now, as Trick makes his way towards the bottom side, we may see Dragon becoming a threat now with lane priority in both the middle and bottom lanes.
Absolutely. Now, looking up on the top side, this is a rarity. For once, it's not Frez getting beat on, because normally he's picking up the Shen and he's kind of like slow to start things off. But here with this Mordekaiser, was in the lead so far in that top lane. Not by much, but like keeping even with the squad. And then this mid lane looks like a very rough time here for Pepsi Fire on Purdue, as he's been just constantly shoved away from the minions, not able to get the last hits he wants. He is going to be gimped on gold as we see Yule making another dive in right in the Trick, the alley-oop of sorts almost there for St. Clair. Trick going to pick that one up with the execute.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you're supposed to do as a jungler when you know that those summoners aren't available in that middle lane. And again, it's about abusing windows, and this is why I think the solo queue rank is actually worth mentioning in some cases, because we do see how kind of that individual player skill is actually affecting these matchups. These on the Purdue side, they commit these big resources like the Morgana Q, like the Twisted Fate pick a card, and as soon as those resources are committed, St. Clair can just walk in and do exactly what they want. So as that fight was breaking out, TF walks into the lane with the blue card held, and as soon as he throws the blue card, there's no card available for 4 seconds. Yule has all the time in the world to just dive in, do his damage, and set Trick up for the finish underneath the tower there. So it's just abusing cooldowns, and the St. Clair squad is really doing a very good job of doing that in these solo lanes.
I mean, looking down to the bot side, though, Haidu and Spirit Zero trying to sneak the Dragon. Mansfield might be able to spot this out, but with the pressure coming in from this mid side, it may be the focus there for St. Clair. We'll have to see in a second. And sure enough, they're going to be able to sneak this under St. Clair's nose, especially odd, considering they had Scuttle Crab.
Yeah, I mean, the Zac can jump over the wall out of the Scuttle Crab vision, right? So there is that kind of advantage there. However, that being said, with all the lane priority that St. Clair had, it's kind of a head scratcher to think that there wasn't set up for that Dragon there to get that vision down that they needed. That control ward is actually positioned behind the Drake pit as opposed to inside of it. And with Purdue having their own control ward inside the pit, they were able to deny that vision and take that Dragon uncontested. So St. Clair's got to be looking for a Rift Herald here and really taking advantage of this early game. You know, you need to develop that objective control. Otherwise, your early game composition kind of loses its value in that regard.
Like, of course, that could jump in high, and actually he's getting jumped on here, forced to pop the ulti to get away. So this could be an easy Rift Herald here for St. Clair. Yeah, like the Haidu could just easily clear the wall, like you were saying, with his jump and get into the Dragon Pit uncontested. Sprite Zero can't, however. So how did that slip by, is my question. So that that objective, unfortunately, not going to be going over in St. Clair's favor, but they're going to be able to trade this out here with the Rift Herald momentarily. Slowly but surely working on that. Sure enough, there it goes. Trick going to pick that one up and start moving towards the lane.
And it's interesting to see Pepsi Fate walking down into the bottom side of the map here. We know that the Destiny is available, and he's looking for those ultimates. And knowing that Twitch is the win con, really doing whatever he can to put himself in this bottom side. But here we have another engage from Lozzy. Lozzy really taking advantage of these.
Oh, they're going.
The flash comes out after the root. Morgana lands an awesome root onto Lozzy. Falls down to the tower damage, actually. And it looks like they're probably going to keep chasing the Braum here in the bottom side. Just a little bit of an overextension from Lozzy underneath that tower. Sprite Zero managing to flash himself away. Really puts St. Clair in an awkward position here in this bottom 2v2. The score is now tied 3-3, despite a 2k gold advantage for St. Clair and seemingly dominant lanes on all sides of the map. St. Clair is actually relatively tied in this game.
That play under turret was doing fine until the Dark Binding hit, and then we saw Mansfield try to answer back with his own Glacial Fissure, but unfortunately just did not hit W City on the Twitch. So that entire time he was free to open fire. Oh, at least St. Clair managed to snag that mid turret for a little bit of compensation gold. But even though they're in the lead, they got to be careful because they kind of gave this this Twitch a little bit of a lane reboot to push them into this mid game a little bit stronger.
Yeah, I think Trick's making the choice to play around the mid lane in this game, especially with the way that the bot lane 2v2 is going. You know, it started off so strong, but there was a little bit of a slip. And that seems to be kind of a very common theme from junglers, is that if one lane is not going the way you want it to go, you look at other lanes and say, well, what can I do there? And so far, he's done a really good job of taking Twisted Fate out of this game, keeping him off the map, limiting those realms. I don't think we've seen a Twisted Fate ultimate being used once yet in this game. He is level 8 currently and hasn't used the ultimate, which is actually really good for St. Clair, because if they can force him to not Destiny until that level 11, that's like so much value being lost out of this Twisted Fate pick. Currently not really providing anything for his team. Down 40 CS and still getting bullied under his tier 2 here by Yule, who does have the mana minion completed now. He's going to start racking up that damage like crazy as he casts out these spells.
And when we know Yule likes to get aggressive, so we could see that come clutch with all that damage. And Lassie and Mansfo finding a pick down on to Spirit Zero or Sprite Zero in the bot lane. Answer kill real quick, and it's actually going to be W City getting caught out. One more stun away. Here comes the Destiny coming out from Pepsi Fire, but it may be too little too late. Yule is here as well, ready to play. They're going to try and split target here. They're finally going to take one down. Zac going to be sent into his blob form. Of course, all of those have to be taken down for the kill to actually count. The stun underneath the turret. Can somebody finish this up? It's actually going to be actually up on the top lane. First gets a kill as well, and they're really trying to turn this around down bot. Sprite Zero coming in with the revenge kill, possibly. Barely Lassy's going to get out of there unless like Flash Dark Binding is not available, so not going to happen. But wow, messy fight.
Yeah, I think, like, as you said, that Destiny just came out way too late, and by the time Rapid Fire actually found the position, or Pepsi Fire rather, found the position that he needed to get set up into that fight, they were already dead. And he kind of just put himself in the middle of harm's way, getting stunned up by that Barometer tower. Yanspo did fall to the tower. He tanked like 6 or 7 auto attacks from that tower, and does end up dropping a kill there. But he did a really good job of setting up all those kills. But just getting that one auto attack and setting up those Grom stuns, it's so much pressure in these team fights. And Trick really feeling very dominant now, 4-0 in this jungle pick. Pretty significant gold advantage here and leveled advantage over the Zac, meaning it should be an easy dragon here once these teams do get set up on the bottom side.
Yeah, this mid lane difference is going to be kind of scary, I feel like, as soon as these team fights really start getting underway. Sure, Yul doesn't have any kills, but he's got plenty of assists, and that's a lot of damage items in his arsenal. Every single time he jumps in with his double shot passive, it's going to be a nice little chunk of damage, let alone the ability damage. So the TF is going to be tickling in comparison, I feel like, especially when Yul is trying to shoot down squishy targets like the Twitch or the TF, compared to an elusive Lucian and some tankier bodies on the St. Clair side. It might be a little bit tougher on the side of Purdue, but we'll have to see as this moves forward.
This comes down to draft weakness, though, Danners, and this is why it's important to kind of think about these concepts as you're drafting. Is that Purdue's draft does not have a lot of damage. Morgana is basically just a binding. Zac is basically just a knockup. Shen is basically just a taunt. Twisted Fate is basically just a gold card, right? So you've got 4 champs that are basically identified by one crowd control ability, and then Twitch is your main source of damage. But if Twitch isn't doing well in lane, which even though there were some kills back and forth in that bottom side, he's down 30 CS and he's 1-2, right? He's got one item completed at 15 minutes. Not even boots are finished at this moment. So their Twitch is not a reliable carry either. So unless there's going to be like heavy bot focus, and we didn't see that from the jungler.
Oh my.
There is the Lucian ultimate, just an easy quick kill on TF there. And we actually do see Purdue coming in, looking for the cleanup kill on Newell. Looks like he's going to find it with the ultimate. Does manage to steal that away. But perfect timing on that, really. There's another fight now in the bottom side here. The flash just come in from the Morgana ulti there. Sprite Zero getting the stun up onto Lazi. W City looking for some damage down, but there's the flash taunt from the Shen. If Yanspo can tank this binding, it's not enough to do it. Lazi goes down, but Frez now TPing in with the ultimate committed onto the Shen, looking for that kill, gonna get those stats boosted for this extended fight here. Doesn't manage to find the kill before the ultimate drops, but there goes one. Sprite Zero getting chased under his tower here. Frez looking for the grab. Mansfield does get the tag here, but none of the other CCs hit. But Trick just doesn't care. He's going in for the dive. There's the repel to get himself out of harm's way, and Sprite Zero is gonna live this no problem.
Man, I said this one was going to be brawly, and we definitely got that. We saw Yul start things off there with the calling taking Pepsi Fire down extremely easily. Haidu comes in, it's like, okay, sure, you took him on 1v1 me now. Oh no, you're already on top of me, I lose. And then this extension in the bot lane from St. Clair with the arrow engage was on target, but Sprite Zero right there at the right time with that spell shield. W City was not interfered with in the slightest, and in fact, they were able to turn that one around. The teleport from Mano was absolutely perfect timing, getting himself into position to help with that fight. That flash taunt to finish off Lazi as well, perfect timing. St. Clair overall probably went plus in that fight, but it wasn't for much, but Yul might have just got baited. Oh, he's going to trade 1 for 1 at least.
It is important to note that in that bottom side, a lot of resources are committed from the side of Purdue. The Twitch ult getting committed here for a little bit of poke on the Mordekaisers. The E does miss, but there comes the Ashe ulti now. Looks like the skills were a little bit staggered there. But Nyansko does come in from the side here with the stun. It should be just a 3 for 2 here. Really quick, easy kills here with the stun set up onto the Twitch. Now we switch to the Morgana. That's a double kill there. Frez actually knocking that one away with his passive. But these fights are just looking a little sloppy from Purdue. They're really kind of overestimating how much damage they have. Like these Twitch plays that we're seeing, they don't work when you're 1-3. right? You can't go in with a Q ultimate and expect to kill the solo farming top laner who's already got a level and health advantage. In that situation, when you don't have that vision, you don't have that map awareness of where the other team currently is.
Mm-hmm.
And with St. Clair fully set up on the bottom side, there's just no way that works. So St. Clair really punishing that overstep from Purdue in that bot lane. Twitch picking up 3 daggers, likely going into the Runon's Hurricane next. But yeah, these item differences and these gold differences are really starting to mean a lot in this game.
It's really starting to look like some of these Brawley fights are really like pushing St. Clair towards the opportunity to possibly run away with this game. You see, even though Yule has been extremely overconfident with some of these plays, he's still able to at least trade it out, and then somewhere else on the map, St. Clair's taking care of that. Juicy Lassie's got to be a little bit careful, but he does have his partner, Miansfo, right around the corner if Minnow tries to get cheeky. But, yeah, lots of daggers on the side of W City. Can this work? Nice little flash from Yule. Gonna blow up W City before he gets taken down. Gonna try and use calling onto Haidu, but it's not going to matter. Gonna trade his life 1-for-1 once again. Stun onto Minnow. Forced to taunt away. That's going to be the stun coming up right here, right now. One more shot takes care of Mano. And Lassie, he's sitting there with 5 kills so far. So far, so good. All the gold is in the right place here for St. Clair.
Yeah, these 1v1 fights are just... I don't even know what to make of them, Danners, if I'm being honest. It's just on one side of the map, it's like we don't know where everyone is, but we see a champion and we start pressing all our buttons and just pray for the best. And it seems to be working on the side of St. Clair. Lucian is pretty well known for these kind of goofy engages where he gets those big bursts of damage down with that double hit, as you were mentioning earlier, the double shot coming out from the light center passive. Does provide a surprising amount of damage, but it's not the play. You know, like there's definitely a different way of approaching these situations, but it's Purdue not punishing on those mistakes, right? We have Lucian come in from the solo kill. He gets the solo kill. They commit 2 more champions down bot side, and all of a sudden your top is overextending, and he's getting killed in return, right? So these plays that shouldn't work are working because we're not moving as a coordinated unit. Now St. Clair's fully set up for this Dragon Pit. The Zac jumps in. He's going to have to flash out there, but Fred actually flashing over the wall, committing the ultimate onto the Twisted Fate. Probably going to be able to clean up this kill here. He's got a lot of damage, but the exhaust does come down. The flash comes down as well, but I don't see how Pepsi Fire gets out of this. Does get pulled back. Duel comes in for the kill. There's the cleanup onto the red buff, and the teams are just going to look to Baron here. There's nothing stopping them at this point.
The one time St. Clair groups up and it's a one-sided team fight. I feel like we should probably see that more often at this point moving forward, but we're going to keep Yule down bot, it looks like, to deal with that bot lane, push towards that turret and give Minow's life a little bit of a hard time. But yeah, sure enough, everybody else from St. Clair moving towards that Baron, try and get themselves that buff. Some of the members of Purdue are on hot pursuit, but definitely taking their time. Can you really outsmite a Q smite from Elise? Probably not, so they're going to just try and force them away for this time being. Stun comes out. It's going to land right onto Haidu, who's going to get nearly bursted down. Oh, the flank from Yule. He's there right at the right time. The big carry, W City, taken down. No more damage really left on this team, and St. Clair's just going to roll it as soon as they take care of Haidu's blobs.
That fight was just... Again, it's another one of those situations where you're looking at the map, but you're not necessarily making sense of what you're looking at, right? You have split pressure from Yule down in the bot side. Although maybe it was a choice that maybe necessarily I wouldn't have made, I can see why you would want that split push pressure down to make space for the Baron and kind of dissuade the Shen from wanting to ult out. But again, the Shen can always just press R, right? Unfortunately, rather than waiting for those cooldowns and waiting for the team to get set up, Purdue walks into the fight for EV5. And even though the Shen ult gets committed, Yule's already halfway there because he started walking like 30 seconds earlier. So it's understanding these rotation times and just kind of getting out macroed by St. Clair, really abusing this weakness in the shot calling and taking advantage of the space that Purdue is leaving on the map there. We see the solo lanes from St. Clair, 3-0 top lane, 4-0 in the jungle. Yule, as you mentioned, is doing tons of damage with his 3-item power spike now. It's going to be really hard for Purdue to recover here.
Yeah, he may have gone down in this game 5 times, but he's always at least traded one for it. So now, like, Infinity Edge Essence Reaver and the fully loaded Manamune ready to go. That is going to be one deadly 80, or I was going to say 80 carry, but he's not even the only 80 carry here. Of course, Lassie fully loaded, ready to go. The Blade of the Rune King and the Hurricane on deck. So many Frost Arrows going everywhere with the crowd control available on those Frosty Arrows as well. It's going to be a little bit rough for it's going to be rough for Purdue as this moves forward. Like, they're going to be trying to dive on the St. Clair, sure, but if they do not find the proper engage, they're just going to get kited. They're just going to get bursted down. To be honest, St. Clair could do either opportunity here. They've got the tools for both.
It's important to note here that in this fight, neither Twitch nor Shen have their flashes available. Twitch wanting that flash to get out, and Shen wanting that flash to get in. So without that flash taunt from Shen, it's going to be really tricky for Purdue to set up that initiation that you're referring to. While on the other side, Lozzie doesn't have his flash available. He does have a Braum with a shield to stand in front and tank all that damage. So as they're kind of pushing into these towers, there's not a whole lot that St. Clair is afraid of here. Yule's kind of safe to just put that split push pressure on the middle lane while they go for a 1-4 in the bottom side. And St. Clair having the longer range on the Ash, the ability to kind of shove out and poke these Purdue champions, sending them back to base and looking for that opportunity to break the next lane.
And those volleys are starting to get some decent value too, and they're just going to keep Purdue stuck here. And as soon as they try to overcommit to one side, they just push the other harder. Half of the turret health gone here in this bot side. I think mid was about to get ready to fall as well. And Yule's all the way on the top side. All three lanes completely contested right now by St. Clair. They're going to be able to secure this bot turret, but here comes Haidu.
And there's the Zac jump into the back line. The redemption does come down. Zac looking on 2 health here. Frez does get the cleanup with the ultimate. Nyansko looking for the stun setup onto Lozzie. Lozzie not having the flash or a QSS available. Did not manage to pick that up in time in this game. Does have to play very safely. But Trick with the one-shot combo onto Sprite. Sprite barely hanging on with the Zhonya's Hourglass. Does have to pop the flash defensively. The binding comes down onto Lozzie in the back, but there's so much damage coming out from Yule. You take care of 180 carry, and there's another one there to finish it off. Lozzie with the cleanup kill number 1. Yule with the chase down onto W City. They're just pushing this in. This is going to be the game here as they take the Nexus. The Baron has worn off, but it doesn't matter. The team is just so strong. They're so ahead, and that's the Nexus down here in game number 1. St. Clair takes the win over Purdue.
That sure snowballed quite crazily. It's unusual. I feel like it's unusual to see Lucian do that much damage, but I could be completely wrong in that thought. But wow, just quite the game overall from St. Clair. Really got the ball rolling early, and they just didn't let go. Like I was saying before, Yule, any single time he went in aggressively, he at least traded, if not went positive. Then Lazzy and Mansfu down bot were doing absolutely fantastic. Trick was harassing everybody. He pretty much actually left the bot lane alone for the longest time, but it let Frez like somewhat dominate that lane in regards to specifically CS. And then when it got towards the mid game, he was even able to 1v1 Menno a couple times there, as Pepsi Fire was not looking to help up that top lane. It was more so down bot, and St. Clair just ran away with this one.
Yeah, that Twisted Fate ultimate, didn't get to see a lot of value in this game. Yule did such a really good job of kind of taking this Twisted Fate out of the early game, really reducing his effectiveness. I think the first ultimate we saw was around level 8 or 9, and I don't know if we actually managed to see another one after that. And if you're drafting your whole composition around these single target pickoffs and you're not using the Twisted Fate ultimate, something's gone wrong, right? And it's not taking advantage of the strength of these champions. So just really an out macro game from St. Clair. There were some kill trades in either lanes, but St. Clair had a better understanding of what they wanted to do with the game and how they wanted to close it out. And it's all about playing to your win condition, right? If Ashe is your win condition, you make that space for that Ashe. You get that Ashe fed. You let her do tons of damage in these fights. Yule did a bunch of damage in this game, but the biggest benefit that Yule provided to his team was taking the Twisted Fate out of the game for Purdue. And by doing that, Ashe has all the freedom in the world to do whatever she wants and just absolutely wreak havoc over the Purdue lineup. So really well played from St. Clair in this game 1.
Yeah, when the big downside of your team composition from St. Clair is the immobility of Ashe, yet Ashe was very rarely ever contested. that's a problem on the side of Purdue, and that on top of everything else is going to be the first victory here in the tournament for St. Clair. And it won't be very long before we go into the next one. There is a match on the hour, every hour up until I think like 5 o'clock tonight. So it's going to be a fun one. We're just getting started here at the Drury Esports Invitational League of Legends tournament. But give us 5 minutes for a quick water break, and we'll be back with the next matchup in the tournament.